as an athlete, I've kind of been an anxious person when it comes to moments. And I think that meditation, mindfulness, those little tools kind of change the anxiousness into more of like an anticipation. And I think that perspective shift has really helped me just like enjoy moments a lot more and be more present.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Birdies conversation where we talk about the power of mindfulness. Angel City has partnered with Birdies to lead with purpose on this talk series. And you know Birdies, our jersey sleeve sponsor and the brand behind the most stylish and comfortable flats. In this series, we discuss topics important to women and all people to help them rise up both personally and professionally. In this conversation, I have an opportunity of talking with Angel City forward Katie Johnson and the author of Life Beyond Likes, Isa Watson, about mindfulness and the importance of weaving it into every aspect of our lives. We dove into how comparison is the thief of joy, the importance of creating boundaries, and how, despite what some may think, mindfulness can be for everyone. So listen in and enjoy. So Keja, this one's for you. You have scored some pivotal goals this season. You always come up clutch when we need you, at like literally the last second. But do you have a favorite moment so far?
Yeah, I would say my favorite moment was, it actually wasn't when I scored a goal. It was probably just my first game with the girls, and just having my family there too. I think the anticipation of it all just felt really full circle for me being there. And like all of this wait for me to get to 100 games finally came out on that day. And like, that was just really special for me and something I can reflect on and be really grateful for.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing career so far, and we're so grateful to have you a part of and continuing it on with us. All right, Isa, can you tell us a little bit about Life Beyond Likes and the work you're doing with Squad?
Yeah, so Life Beyond Likes is a best-selling book that I wrote and it was released this year. It addresses social media, its existence, how it makes us feel about ourselves, how it's changed, how we navigate our lives. But it also presents a framework for how to recenter the joy in our lives. And, talks about the power and walking in our own truth and kind of cultivating what that journey is. So I've, married storytelling and research to kind of illustrate the point. So very excited about the book and how it's been received. And I am the founder and CEO of a tech company called Squad. And Squad is an app that makes it easy and fun for you to talk to your close friends every day away from social media. To have a private place on your phone where it's just your close friends, away from the craziness of the text messages, the craziness of the phone, and full with prompts in a way that makes it interactive and habit building. We've gotten really far away from, connection and friendship, and Squad just kind of, reels that in. And we've been really excited to be able to have, investors like, from Bessemer all the way to people like Carmelo Anthony. And so very excited to just kind of spread friendship the way that, and the joy from it in the way that it should be spread.
That's amazing. I can't wait to jump on that. What do you? Yeah, get the team on it. Hey, Joe, get the team on it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Sounds perfect. Squad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of definitions to mindfulness, a lot of different perceptions of it. So for each of you, like we'll start with you, Isa. What does it mean to you? How do you define it?
I define mindfulness as, the ability to navigate with intentionality. I think it's the ability to, make sure that we are, from a thoughts perspective, not doing kind of overly self-talk, when things don't go well. From an energy perspective, making sure that we're cultivating, the right energy around us. From a physical perspective, it's making sure that we're investing and taking care of our bodies. But I think it's like the ability to use intention to be well around, in a 360 way.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That was great. I would say the same, just being intentional with daily practices so that you can then like in turn be your highest vibration of who you want to be. And if you can get the daily practices and be really intentional with those moments, then again, it'll hopefully bring you to that highest person.
Man, I think with both of those, like it seems like you both have deep relationships with mindfulness. And that's, I think in our world, it's very distracting and can pull you away. And with both of your professions, with any profession, it's easy to get out of that space. So what drew you to it? Like, how did how did you first become interested in it, and how does that affected your life?
I think for me, it's definitely it's been a process, a multi-year process, and I used to go to guided meditation classes. Um, I became in recent years a competitive skydiver, and I had gotten into this sport because I was looking for something that was like a mental health reset. And skydiving actually has helped with my mindfulness in a really big way. And I think that sometimes people see mindfulness as a destination when it's more of a journey. And to that extent, a lot of the things that bring us into mindfulness, or the habits that we have to build around it, they evolve and change over time. And so mine has evolved and changed over time, but I would say I use a lot of journaling. I write a love letter / pep talk to myself every Monday. And I'm, really, I'm a big skydiver.
Wow, that's amazing. We're going to go into that deeper for sure. Competitive skydiving.
That's crazy. I didn't know that was the thing.
I know.
That's awesome.
What about you, KJ? What's been your journey with mindfulness, and when did you first connect with it, and how's it really affected you?
Yeah, I started probably, I would say my practice started when I turned into a pro. I think that it started off with just kind of questioning my spirituality a little bit and wanting to grow in that aspect of my life. And then it kind of grew into podcasts, meditation, yoga, and just kind of, again, growing and evolving, and what I learned maybe could help me grow and learn more about myself. So I think kind of starts and developed as well and grew over time. And yeah, I also like to journal as well. I like that. What you mentioned about the Monday.
It's really good. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I
have to steal that.
I find that we're very quick to critique ourselves, especially, you as a professional athlete, very quick to critique ourselves and I should have done that, I should have done this. But what about the things that we do well and pouring into ourselves equally? And I feel like it was a good structure to do so.
What did you call it? Monday what?
In my Monday, it was my Monday love letter. Yeah, I like that. But I also, it's like a little bit, the vibe of mine is a little bit pep talky as well, because it's like, you got this, girl,
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'm going to bring that into my life as well. More writing. And I think, like, where did this voice come from, right? You're saying how we're so quick to critique ourselves and everything. Like, have you had a relationship with that to understand yours?
I mean, for me, I think it's, a sense of perfectionism. You when you grow up, you're 5 years old. What do you get gold stars at the front of the class, and you're trying to get as many gold stars as possible. That was perfectionism as we knew it, and then came about this thing called social media, where everyone only posted their perfect moments, and then we started comparing our whole lives to that perfect life. And so I think that that's where, man, I should have been promoted already, or I didn't get into that school, or I should have, I'm not, I don't have kids already, whatever the case is. Like, I think that, we got wrapped up into comparing ourselves to other people, and I did as well. And so I think that that's where that negative self-talk came in. And I grew up an athlete. And so being coached was like, a big thing for me. And so, I used to try to beat myself to the critiques, before somebody else did. And it's just kind of something that I've had to unlearn. And I wouldn't say that I fully unlearned it, but I am working on it.
Yeah, I think that's when you start to flex that mindfulness muscle, I haven't healed from that voice, but I can catch it.
Yep.
And then you have those like tools and resources to get back in that healthier space. Speaking of your book, like, I love it. I'm just getting started with it, but like totally resonate, especially in this world we're in, life beyond likes. But you really emphasize the importance of disconnecting from technology and social media. And what started your journey with that? Like, can you give us an example of why you are so passionate about sharing this message?
Well, I kind of woke up one day and looked at my social media feed. I didn't recognize myself. And this was back when I had my old handles, before I deleted them and got them again. But two things. One is that, when social media became, I was a decorated chemist, then went to MIT and fell into Wall Street and highly decorated there. But that was in the social media age where posting everything, top 30 under 30, top 40 this, top 100, that was like part of your personal brand. And I think I got caught up in the validation seeking behavior and the fact that I was getting validated from a bunch of people I had never met in my life. But, the thing hit me when, some years ago, my parents sponsored a bus trip for kids to visit colleges every year. And this year, the bus ran off a straight road, flipped over, and ejected both my parents out the front window. And my dad didn't survive that. And when I hit rock bottom in that moment, it was very apparent to me that I had neglected my real life relationships in lieu of this kind of positioning life on social media. And it was a very painful place to be. And so, when I started talking about it, I realized I was far from the only person that was conflating consumption with connection online. And then at the same time, I have my best friend telling me, like, if people look at your social media feed, they would think your life was perfect. And I was like, that's far from true, And so I wanted to just kind of use that experience and leverage that and share that with people to encourage them to do two things. One, just evaluate how social media is making you feel, how you use it. I do think that there is a lot of power in stepping away from technology and kind of regrounding ourselves in our real lives. I'm not saying completely abandon it, but I think too, actually taking that time and investing in the joy in our life and recentering joy in our life. And that's something that I think we've stepped away from in a really big way in this, highly digital age.
Recentering the joy. And thank you for sharing all of that. Super grateful and received. Keijo, you deal with social media a lot with being a professional athlete. It's the highs, it's the lows. So how do you manage your relationship with that?
I think it goes back to the intentionality of when you're doing things. I try to just be intentional with what I'm posting, and I try to keep my private life maybe a little more private if I can. And I think that sharing the moments that I am really proud of, obviously, I do want to share those moments of the 100th game and like posting about those things, but also keeping the privacy as well to myself, something that's really important to me. And some things are meant to be shared and some things aren't. I think I'm not an expert on what social media, like I'm not trying to say like I should be doing this versus what other people should be doing, but I think everyone navigates it in their own way, and just being intentional about how you do it is really important. And like, why am I posting this maybe, or why am I sharing this? I think, and asking yourself those questions is really important. And like, yeah, if it brings you joy, sparks joy, like asking yourself those things, I think really helps as to why you're doing the things you're doing.
Yeah, I think I see you mentioned it with validation. And I think when you're asking the question that Keijo you just mentioned, like why, and if you can ever find it back to validation, like that's, put it down, put the phone away, like, and sit with that, really explore that. So some people may be skeptical of mindfulness, feel like it's not for them, like it's like all about meditation and just zenning out. And what's your response to those concerns? And what would you say to someone who may be a little more hesitant in trying their own practice?
I think mindfulness, if you have 46 chromosomes and 10 fingers and 10 toes, this definitely impacts you. There is a lot of, quick thoughts to, oh, it's meditation. My brain can't be silent like that. I get distracted. Like I hear that a lot. But the reality is that, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for example, safety and security, right? That's also psychological safety, and connection and belonging. Those are core needs to the human experience, right? And so when you think about, tapping into some of those needs, mindfulness can actually help you uncover and unlock, accessing that, right? And so I think that I challenge people to think beyond, just meditation and things like that. Mindfulness is just making sure that you are all right. Everybody needs rest. Everybody needs resetting. Everybody could benefit with cultivating good energy and good people around them. Everybody can benefit from having a strong village of people around them. That is all mindfulness. And so it's more of something that I thread into my life as opposed to just like, hey, mindfulness is this one activity.
Go ahead, KJ. What about you?
I would just say that I think that as an athlete, I've kind of been an anxious person when it comes to moments. And I think that meditation, mindfulness, those little tools kind of change the anxiousness into more of like an anticipation. And I think that perspective shift has really helped me just like enjoy moments a lot more and be more present. And I think that anyone who can change that perspective, anxious to anticipation, or just again like that shift, I think that's always just helpful. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to try at least to, I guess, be more mindful in your experiences?
100%. Intention is like, I love how you said that. That was the perfect definition of it, is threading intention into everything you're doing. Birdies the Game Changer, the limited edition version of the Swift that rocks Angel City's official colors and emblem. This shoe is ready to inspire, support, and empower you to be a game changer. Go find yours at birdies.com, angelcity.com, and the Birdies app at Kinney store. I want to go back to, so now maybe someone's a little more open to it after they hear both your definitions. They're like, all right, maybe this is for me. I could try that. How would you direct them? What would you, especially you're saying, joy, right? Find your joy. Well, what if someone doesn't really know what brings them joy in this moment? How do you get to that root?
That's a really good question. I actually do believe, and I learned this on the book tour, a lot of people don't know what brings them joy. And I think it's because a lot of people haven't experimented enough with what brings them joy. Like 10 years ago, I still lived in New York City, and I would, be in Midtown. I'd be like, I kind of want to go to France tomorrow. And I would literally go to JFK and hop on a plane and go to France the next day. That would bring me anxiety today. I can't, and so, but like what brings people joy shifts over time, right? For me right now, my joy, playbook is around skydiving, it's around friendship, and it's around rest, because I'm also unlearning that rest is laziness. Rest is actually productive, and rest is the flex. And so I think that what happens these days is people so often take other people's joy books. They're like, oh my God, she likes tennis and this person likes golf, and I tried those things and it really didn't hit, and I'm like, well, you actually have to continue trying. And so I think that, first it's experimentation. And then the second part that you didn't ask, but people often say like, well, how do I know that I found joy? Well, here's where we are in our society. We have become so complacent and content with running on E all the time. We are in burnout mode all the time, and we only do a little bit to get that E just up a little bit, and then we're back down again. And when you have found your joy centers, you'll find that your tank gets refilled, with more energy, to just kind of navigate. And I would say, the last thing I'll say is that friendship is a big part of my joy equation. And I think friendship these days, especially in the social media age, is such an untapped source of joy.
I resonate with that one for sure. Like last year, I got in a very work, burnout, excitement of the season, all of that, social media validation, all like, and just so empty. And then now it's all like family, friends, and I feel so much more alive this year, like endless energy. So I love the joy centers, and like I totally feel that fuel tank refueling. Katie, when you're on the field and things don't go right, like how you want, right? There's always those moments. How do you stay centered and focused and kind of get back into that space when it's easy to get in that downward spiral?
I think obviously after a game, if we lose, I don't go on social media, because I just know like all the comments, and that I do also go into the comparison. I see other teams girls I follow, and if they've won, I'm like, I want to be in that position. So like I try to just like stay away from social media, kind of clear myself away from it all, watch the actual game. In that case, like I know that the only people who actually experienced it were the other girls on the team. So those are the people I need to lean on the most. And like talking to them and trying to maybe figure out what I can do better, how I can make the team better, what we all can do as a collective so that it helps us. Like it's easy to look outward and like look at what other people, the validation of the people who watched the game, my parents, like asking them how I did. But like at the end of the day, it's me who experienced it, the girls on the field, and like how can we all get together to collectively be better. And I think that's important. And just knowing that they have my back, like that's been so like important, I think, for the growth of the team, the girls together.
And Fish, one of the things I just want to mention, Keijo, I thought that was a really good point, is just calling out the fact that Keijo is talking to boundaries, right? I think that boundaries is also very much a part of mindfulness because it's really important to know what doesn't serve us, and to just kind of push that aside. And I think that, that was what she was speaking to, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah, you totally mentioned it earlier as well when you were saying how your relationship with social media and how you choose what you put on, and your boundaries with that, and respect that. And that's so good to know yourself and honor that. Another thing that you mentioned was dangerous is comparison is a dangerous place. And we all can venture into it, especially how our world is set up right now. So what's your advice for avoiding these negative comparisons? And is there such a thing as positive comparison?
I think that obviously comparison is a thief of joy. And one thing that Keijo said earlier that I really appreciated and resonated with me was, her individuality and leaning into and tapping that. And I think that, there's this poster in my childhood home, and it says, why try to fit in when you were born to stand out? We spend so much time looking at other people's playbooks, trying to be them. In our society, we have to realize that we've accepted time and achievement, the inverse relationship of that, to mean success, right? So if I founded like a $5 billion company when I'm 25, then I'm successful. Maybe it's not as successful if I'm 65 and I do it, right? And I think that it's really important to actually understand and know that everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own timeline. And I think that we've accepted these societal norms that actually make it easy for us to compare. Social media makes it easy for us to compare. And the reality is that, that individuality is super powerful when you have learned to validate yourself. Because I think we spend a lot of time, we're kind of in the success and validation seeking mode. Like if we don't get enough likes, a certain amount of time, people will take posts down and things like that, right? But the reality is that we don't need that validation anywhere close to the validation we need from ourselves. We have to look at ourselves and build up that muscle to look at ourselves in the mirror every single day and learn how to validate who we are. And I think that that is kind of the counter to comparison, learning to be comfortable. And I struggle with it too sometimes. But to your point, Fish, you said earlier, sometimes you don't just change overnight, but at least you know what it is. And when it appears, you're like, okay, I'm doing that thing again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that awareness has been everything for me for sure. And then the flex, it's like working out. You just get stronger and stronger in it. And like you're talking about with your Monday journal, it's like your love letter to yourself. Like that's that constant flex and just filling yourself up with that validation instead of seeking the external. Mm-hmm. What are some things that like maybe take you away from your goals that, whether it's with your working career or just your intentional practice with your life? Like what are some things that kind of, I love that you said thief of, what was it? Comparison thief? Comparisons and thieves of joy?
Of all joy.
Yeah, I love that. So what are some of those things that you've noticed are like patterns that can take you away from that space?
Things that empower me to compare. So people, again, you talk about boundaries. I have an Instagram. I do not scroll it. Why? Because I realized that when I scrolled Instagram, I'm a girl from North Carolina and I love me a good Krispy Kreme donut. And I can eat that one, that two, that third Krispy Kreme and slap in. But if I ate a fifth donut, like 10 minutes after, I don't feel so great. And that's exactly how scrolling Instagram made me feel. And so I said, okay, I'll have an Instagram, but I'm not going to scroll it, right? I don't have any notifications on for it. And so I think that, things like scrolling social media for me, that takes me out of that. Sometimes, I can spiral. If something doesn't go right, or if I'm experiencing a failure, I can spiral around like what I did wrong, what I should have done better. I'm doing this kind of like postmortem analysis, but in a way that's very detrimental. That takes away from my joy too. And I have to, and that's another tool. I have my friends who know how to check me when I'm in a certain place. They'll be like, Isa, you're doing the thing. And we want you to know that this is a moment, this will pass, but let's learn from it and move on. And I'm like, you're right. I needed to hear that. And so I think that, scrolling social media, engaging in negative self-talk, it's all the things that take me away from joy are things that, bring me into the mental space of making me feel lesser than, or making me feel like not enough. And I am enough. And so, I have to continue to tell myself that, and to pour into myself in that way, and to continue to build that muscle.
You are, and we are. All of us, everyone listening to this as well, we are all enough. That downward spiral, when a sports psych that I saw in college said, focus on the next play. Like, just focus on simplify it, right? Like, focus on just building that confidence one by one, and win the hour, win the minute. Like, that stuff has been so powerful, because it's like you just do something tangible, right? Just to get your brain out of that space. Katie, what about you? What are some things?
I would just say, even adding on to that, like with the what's next type of thing, I think it's very easy to get stuck in like, I'm not good enough. What do I need to do better? All these things. For me, after practice, if I don't feel like feel fulfilled maybe in that training session, I like to ground, and I'll just walk around the field, and it kind of brings me back to like the little me playing soccer and like barefoot kicking the ball around, and I'm like, reset, and I'm like, okay, I feel good. Like I can leave the field now and like feel like there's another day to practice, and there I can get better at the next day. So I would say like that tool has really helped me if I don't feel fulfilled after a training session. And then after a game, just rest, recovery, a sauna. Like, I love sitting in the sauna and just like feeling uncomfortable, but then also just cooling my thoughts and just getting my mind right. Like, that's something that helps me, and those little tools just kind of help me get out of that headspace maybe that's negative, and then move on to the next thing.
Those are amazing tools for anyone to use. Grounding is so powerful. All right, well, finally, this will be, you're definitely warriors of mindfulness in your own lives and for our world, for our audience, so we're very grateful for that. What are your hopes for the future of mindfulness in just the social, the professional settings, all of it?
I hope that it becomes more of a way of life. One of the things I think was really powerful that Keijo mentioned a few times was the use of tools. I think it's for us to all build our own toolkits, and to pull out whatever tool that we need in the moment. Like, if I need to get a nail in a wall, I have a hammer. If I need a screwdriver, I have a screwdriver. We need to actually have tools of mindfulness in order to kind of really integrate it into our lives. And I would love to see that become more of a widespread mindset. I actually just came back from giving a talk at a high school in Brooklyn about friendship and, the power of friendship to our mental health, et cetera. And I was really inspired by the fact that even these kids, 15, 14, 16 years old, they're actually thinking about their mental health. They're thinking about mindfulness. They're thinking about investing in their joy. And I am just hopeful and inspired that it'll be more widespread, because the one thing that, we didn't explicitly acknowledge here, we have just come out of a 3-year worldwide pandemic that none of us could have ever dreamed of, and it's impacted so many people. And coming out on the other side of that, the U.S. Surgeon General just declared loneliness as an official public health threat and an epidemic in the U.S., citing the lack of social connection, citing the lack of, excessive social media use as well. And so I think that, if we focus on building up our toolkits of mindfulness, and even sharing a little bit of those here and there, so that, it's more widespread, that to me is more my goal. Because right now, where we are in the world, there's a lot of joy that is not being experienced, and I would love to see that change.
Thank you for all you're doing to just plant the seeds for us all to be received. And what about for you, Keijo? What are your hopes for mindfulness in our world?
Yeah, I think, again, everyone can grow from it, and it's not like there's really no negative aspect that would come out of it. I think you'll learn more about yourself and who doesn't want to experience that. And also, I like the idea of like, it's for everyone. For from someone who's young to like my parents who maybe like haven't even, I sometimes ask them questions. They're like, I haven't thought about that. And just having like conversations about around mindfulness, I think is really important. So, I mean, conversations even like this, like I just think it's a really exciting opportunity for people to learn more about others and themselves.
Well, thank you both for all you're doing in this space, and just your own lives. Like that has its own ripples. So, where can our audience find you? What's going on? How can they find you off of this? And what's going on in the future? What's on the horizon for you both?
Oh, it's funny. I think back to Keijo's point about just know your next play. It's the next play. So I'm on socials everywhere. Isa D Watson. Squad is at with your squad. And what's next for me is we've been scaling this quite a bit in New York, and through the teenage demographic in the city. So I'm excited to kind of take this and scale it beyond. And also just really excited to continue to pour into this next generation. Like my high schoolers, sometimes they call me Gen Z auntie. And I think I'm about to embrace that. I don't know what that means, but I think they're like, you're like Gen Z auntie. You give us rich auntie vibes. And I was like, I don't know if I'm rich, but like, I'll take it.
That's amazing.
I hope Alyssa calls me that.
Yeah. That's our high schooler on our team. Yes, yeah.
That's funny.
What about for you, KJ? What's going on like outside of Angel City? What's on that for you?
Outside of Angel City, man, I can't even get past next week. Honestly, still focusing on season right now. Doing the little task every day. Just trying to stay focused and healthy and get some wins in, and hopefully, keep it exciting for everyone.
It's definitely been exciting this far. And again, just so grateful for both of you, for all the work you're doing, but just as humans, like it's been amazing to share this space. I felt the energy through the video calls, so I appreciate the connection and the intention in this moment. And just, again, all the ripples of mindfulness that you're sending through our human family out here. We need you both.
Thanks for having me. And thanks, Keijo, for being such a great
Thank you.
Thanks, Fit.
Nice to meet you.